The price of the harvest sun. The village of Kapandu was dry and quiet, filled with dust carried by the wind and the familiar smell of shea butter from cooking fires. Amina had lived there all her life. She was 21 years old and known for being dependable. Neighbors trusted her to deliver goods to the market, watch their children, or help during planting season. At home, she was the main support of her family. Amina woke before dawn each day. She fetched water, prepared meals when food was available, and helped her father, Papa Audu, with farm work. Since her mother's death 3 years earlier, she had taken on many responsibilities, including caring for her younger brother, Musa. Musa was 6 years old, curious and energetic, and deeply attached to his sister. He followed her everywhere and believed she could solve any problem. The year the rains failed, life in Kapandu became difficult. At first, people hoped the delay was temporary. Weeks passed without rain. The maize grew poorly, its leaves curling and turning yellow. When harvest time arrived, the crops were too small to store. The yams rotted underground, and the guinea corn produced almost nothing. The river Rua, which supplied the village with water, shrank into a shallow stream. Women waited for hours at the riverbank, and arguments became common. Food quickly became scarce. Papa Audu, once strong and active, grew thinner and weaker. He spent long hours sitting outside their hut, staring toward the fields. At night, Amina heard him coughing and struggling to sleep. One evening, he spoke quietly. "We must sell the yams," he said. Amina looked at the storage pot where they kept seed yams for the next planting season. "If we sell them, we won't be able to plant when the rains return. If we keep them, we may not survive long enough to plant." They sold the yams. When the money was gone, they sold the bicycle Papa Audu used for transport. Later, they sold the old wooden drum that had belonged to his father. Still, hunger returned. Meals became smaller, sometimes only thin porridge made from dawa. Musa began to lose weight. Amina often gave her her share of food, telling him she was not hungry. One afternoon, a black car drove into Kapandu and stopped near their hut. It belonged to Alhaji Danjuma, a wealthy trader from the city. He was known for his businesses and for having several wives. His arrival attracted attention, and people watched from a distance. Papa Audu went outside to speak with him. Amina stayed inside, grinding pepper. She could hear parts of their conversation. Alhaji Danjuma spoke about debts, food, and school fees. He said he would take Amina as his third wife and provide for her family in return. Papa Audu said Amina was his daughter and all he had left. The trader replied that Musa deserved an education and that the family would not survive the coming months without help. Amina dropped the grinding stone and stepped outside. She stood before them and looked directly at her father. His face showed exhaustion and shame. "Papa," she said calmly, "Musa needs to go to school. Mama wanted that." Papa Audu covered his face and began to cry. Amina then turned to Alhaji Danjuma. "I will agree to the marriage, but you will pay for my brother's education and you will make sure my family has food until the next successful harvest." The trader agreed. Arrangements were made quickly. Amina left Kapandu in the black car with only a small bag. There was no celebration or farewell ceremony. As the car drove away, Papa Audu fell to his knees by the roadside, crying openly. In the city, Amina lived in a large house with high walls. She had enough food and fine clothes, but her movements were restricted, and her life was no longer her own. At night, she thought of her father eating without fear and her brother learning to read and write. She never returned to Kapando. She did not describe her decision as bravery or sacrifice. It was simply the choice she made so her family could survive during a year when there were no good options, only consequences. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Carol's Moonlight Tales for more African stories told under the moonlight. Watch for part 2.